Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, our guest is Joseph LoPresti, and he is the founder and CEO of ClearPoint Family Office, where he helps business owners exit by design, not by default. As a seasoned financial strategist and founder of the LoPresti Advisory Group, he specializes in guiding entrepreneurs through profitable, low-stress business exits that align with their personal growth. With decades of experience in tax-smart financial planning, Joe teaches owners how to build transferable value, sell on their terms, and turn in their life's work into lasting family wealth. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Gary.
That's an awful lot that you've been doing, huh?
Sounds like a lot, yeah.
So, tell us some of the mistakes that you've seen, business owners make when they're trying to exit.
Well, I think probably the biggest mistake is that not so much necessarily right at the exit, but during their career, focusing on growth for the sake of growth without thinking about their business as an enterprise and how to build transferable value, because that is what ultimately is going to secure their freedom. Thinking about the business the way the next owner is going to look at your business, and it's not necessarily the same the way that you look at your business, or most business owners look at their business. They're focusing on revenue and earnings, which is important. I mean, a new buyer wants that, but they want a lot of other things too that make it attractive. And that's really what builds transferable value.
So how do you go about helping them understand that better and helping them actually build those transferable assets?
Well, as far as understanding it, it's quite honestly a mindset shift. And we have to, get the business owner to think about their business and measure it on a regular basis by tracking its transferable value, right? So looking at, what are some of the key criteria that establish enterprise value. There's 6 key areas that we look at, and then doing an assessment, a snapshot evaluation, call it what you will, of those 6 areas, and seeing where the business is today, and then what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and then start to build on those weak areas that is going to directly increase, have an impact on that transferable value.
So, I know you said that, hey, we really want to, not so much at the end, but we want to, kind of, I'm going to say, work with someone throughout the time before they're even thinking about selling their business. How many years kind of before they want to sell that business do you really want to get with them to help them?
Well, we have clients that really, span a big range there. We have clients that are in their 30s and 40s and are thinking about this earlier in their career, which is ideal. And then, of course, tends to be more baby boomer type clients, think about it later, in their business life cycle. The sweet spot, I would say, is that 3 to 5 year range. There's a lot you could do in 3 to 5 years to, get the business to a point where a buyer, the next owner, if it's going to be transferred internally, or if it's going to be private equity or whoever it is that's going to buy the company, they could see value that you've built, and they're going to want to see how they could grow that value from that point forward. And that's what attracts the highest dollar, the highest multiple, is that combination. Value in what you have, and then how they could grow that value further, to get a return on their investment.
Right. Um, I've seen where you've said that 80 to 85% of most business owners, regret the sale afterwards. Can you talk about that?
Sure, that's a pretty commonly known statistic out there. The Exit Planning Institute puts out these surveys of business owners, and they found that somewhere in the 85% range a year later, after they've sold, they regret it. Now that could be regret in a lot of different ways. Broadly speaking, I would just call it, I jokingly call it the dumb tax. It's something they didn't know. They wish they would have known. And they regret that. So, it could be that they found out about a tax strategy that they could have implemented to save a lot of money in taxes, and they regret that. It could be there was a different type of transaction or a different, type of buyer that they could have sold to that could have been better maybe for the employees or better for their legacy. That's very important as well, particularly for founding business owners that are selling, that they want that legacy to continue, so a year later, they don't want to, look back and see the legacy that they've built, has been tarnished. So there's a lot of different things in there that, owners could look back on and regret. So really being proactive in the planning, and that's why, 3 to 5 years or longer, ideally, could really help. We work with business owners to help them understand all of these areas, everything related to business exits, so they can make the best decisions in these different areas possible. And then they tend to have less regret that way.
Yeah. Have you found that many of them have, after they've sold and kind of seen how, the new owners are running things? Because again, it's lots of times when you start something, it's your baby, so it's hard to see somebody else, kind of running it. Have you seen that many of them have had those type of regrets too?
Absolutely, yes. The legacy, not so much personal legacy or family legacy, but the legacy of what they've built. Many of the clients we work with have been running their business for 20 or 30 or sometimes even 40 years. And it's like their personal identity.
Right.
They value it sometimes more than their own kids, and so there's a lot of emotions that come into play with those types of founding business owners. And that's really our niche focus at ClearPoint Family Office, working with founding business owners that are kind of reaching that point in their career. Many of them don't want to exit. They just love what they're doing. They built something valuable and they really enjoy it, but they know it's inevitable, right? So starting to take that, concept that you're going to exit one day, one way or another, and be proactive about it, turns it into more of an opportunity rather than, just a reflexive type of decision making.
Right. I think something that's always important to talk about also is that, lots of times things happen in people's lives where, health reasons or whatever, where they're not able to continue. And, obviously if they bring you in, then you're being very reactive to what's going on. How have you guys been able to help educate people that, hey, look, we need to plan for this, even though, you may not want to exit for 20 years. How do you guys help people that, again, things happen, so
Yeah.
we got to be prepared.
Well, again, kind of going back to what we talked a little bit about earlier, it's the mindset shift and really talking to the business owner about, are you tracking your transferable value on a regular basis? If you look at every business owner has a different cycle. Some are monthly, some are quarterly, whatever your cycle is. Are you not just looking at your top line and bottom line? Are you looking at the value of your business and the health of your business the way an outsider is going, from their point of view? And tracking that and making strategic decisions based on how does this decision impact my enterprise value? So, having that mindset shift is really a big portion of it. Then the second, on the back end of that is, okay, 50% of businesses of owners will exit without a preparation, right? Meaning that we call it the 5 Ds: death, disability, divorce, partner disagreements, disasters, things like that. So things that are outside of their control in many cases. If that happens to you, let's take a look at how do we protect the value. What are the different risks to your business? How do we protect that value so the enterprise value can transfer to your loved ones if something happens to you? Tightening up buy-sell agreements and partnership agreements and key person strategy. All of that helps to reduce the potential that one of our clients would exit by one of the 5 Ds.
Right. So, you've written a book, Exit by Design. Can you tell us about the book?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've been talking all about the business planning side of what is important for founding business owners. You can't talk about that without talking about the personal wealth planning side. There has to be unification in the business planning with the personal wealth planning. So what Exit by Design is designed to do is to help business owners realize that integrated planning by looking and coordinating the business strategy with their personal wealth planning is really how to optimize what you're building and make decisions based on, the life that you want to live, and understanding what your freedom point is a big concept in the book, because the enterprise value is going to tie into the freedom point. And, a lot of business owners don't really know what their freedom point is, and they don't know what their enterprise or transferable enterprise value is. They may have an idea of what the book value of their company is, or, something that they keep on a personal balance sheet, but what is really that transferable value? And then working on building the transferable value to a point where they can reach their personal freedom and live the life that they want without worrying about money.
All right. When a business owner first comes into you, I'm taking a couple steps back here, and they first come in to see you, talk to you about the wealth side, but then also the business side. And do you guys help them kind of, okay, your business isn't sellable right now because of whatever the reason is. Do you guys help them then build that business to get it to the point where you can sell someday? And what does that cycle look like?
Yes, absolutely. So first thing we do is we do a business health and valuation snapshot. And that establishes where they are today. We also look at their freedom point on the personal wealth planning side. So that goes through like a lifetime cash flow plan and looks at, okay, what do you need the business to be worth, along with other assets you've accumulated, right, to be able to live the life that you want. And then all the decisions are made around those two things. In many cases, building that enterprise value is going to be, I should say, in every case, that's going to be the biggest impact on closing the gap between where they are today and their freedom point. We call that the wealth gap. So building the enterprise value and value enhancement, a strategic growth roadmap, transition readiness, personal and business transition readiness. All of those things are valuable in terms of increasing the business value and closing that wealth gap.
Great.
Right.
So, we covered a lot of stuff here quickly. What questions have I not asked you wish I had?
So a couple of things come to mind. One is that, when I have a discussion with a business owner, I like to bring up the fact that only 30% of businesses that list for sale sell. So about 1 in 3, and only 10% of those businesses get the price that the owner expects. So when you break those numbers down, we're talking about 3% of businesses that list get the price that the owner expects. We want to have clients be in that 3%, right? Not the other 97%. And the only way to do that is to have a dedicated effort and focus on building that transferable value and making the business attractive to potential buyers. So that I think is an important concept. The second concept is having an advisory team that collaborates and coordinates your planning, where the financial and wealth advisors are in the loop on what you're doing with your business strategy, and they're making investments and building tax reduction strategies and wealth transfer strategies that are in alignment with what the business advisors are doing and helping you build your value to a certain level, understanding what the timeline is and the end game plan, and having that full team that is accessible, as opposed to the business owner having relationships with one-off advisors and having conversations in silos that misses the synergistic opportunities that come with having a planning team. So thinking about, like, that's where the fractional family office concept is trying to bring the family office concept that today, the ultra wealthy people use this same concept, trying to democratize it and bring it to that business owner that maybe is in the $5 to $75 million range, where it's uneconomical for them to build that own team with the cost and the overhead that would be in place.
Right. So Joe, if people like what they hear and they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So probably the easiest place is our website, clearpointfamilyoffice.com. You could, schedule a phone call, just an introductory, non-committal type of phone call, and just have a chat or conversation. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And my email is jlopresti@clearpointfo.com.
Great. Joe, really appreciate your time today. I think that you've given the listeners a lot to think about and what they need to do with their businesses.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it.
Great. Hey, this week our guest was Joe LoPresti, and he is the founder and CEO of ClearPoint Family Office. And I'll see you guys next week.